When the Rune Master came out late last year, not only did it become my favorite mastery, but I loved the direction that last Epoch had taken their class design. An easy to learn, hard to master playstyle that allows for plenty of room for fun builds to burn, freeze, or shock your enemies, depending on how you feel that day. Well, it seems like EHG has done it again with the new Warlock mastery, the third and final mastery for the Acolyte class. While we don't have the ability to play the mastery until the 1.0 launch on February 21st, we were given a bunch of juicy details on Icy Veins. We have the description of the class, the new skills and their respective skill trees, and information on a new set of Warlock-specific curses. If you want a more in-depth look at each part of the Warlock, along with some gameplay footage for the skills, I would check out ActionRPG, who partnered with EHG and Icy Veins to deep dive into this information in video format. But because I am extremely excited to get my hands on the two new classes coming with the 1.0 launch, the Warlock and the Falconer, I wanted to make this video to talk about some of the details of the Warlock class and continue to get hyped for the 1.0 launch later this month. So to start us off, what is the Warlock? The mastery description says that the Warlock is a practitioner of the forbidden arts, using curses to weaken and destroy her enemies along with other dark magics to devour their souls. Okay, first off, I love when RPGs make a dark magic caster class top tier heavy metal. Don't give me any of this, oh, the Warlock drains the life out of enemies with a soft kiss and buries them politely after writing a respectful eulogy. That's the family-friendly rated PG crap of the Diablo 3 years. No, give me a description like tearing into the essence of her foes, twisting and corrupting their bodies and minds with curses most vile. Give me, she can devour the very souls of those who would stand in her way. Is that too much excitement for just a good description? Let me know in the comments below. Moving on. When you choose the Warlock Mastery, you automatically receive plus 5% more damage per curse on the target, and you receive plus 35% fire and necrotic resistances. The Warlock seems to be heavily involved with powers of necrotic and fire damage, using curses and other sources of damage over time to bring down enemies. The passive nodes are mostly geared towards this style of gameplay, with nodes that increase your damage over time with ailments and increase your ability to spread curses. The Warlock Mastery is all about curses and soul devouring. So first and foremost, we need to go over the new Warlock curses, because they seem like they're going to be the Warlock's defining mechanic. The Warlock is going to introduce 5 new curses into the game: Anguish, Penance, Decrepify, Acid Skin, and Torment. Each of these curses have additional effects and synergies that can be triggered by your skills and specialized in your skill trees. Starting with Anguish. Anguish is a curse that lasts 10 seconds on an enemy and does not stack on itself. The curse reduces damage over time dealt by the enemy, and if the enemy dies while affected by the curse, it will explode and deal necrotic damage to all nearby enemies that also have the curse. So in its base form, it seems like a worthwhile tool to help with your survivability against damage over time effects, but depending on how it scales with your necrotic damage, that explosion could also be a great tool for AoE enemy clearing. If the explosion does enough damage, one enemy dying with the curse could cause a chain reaction with all the other enemies that have the curse, and there could be a long string of explosions clearing the entire pack. The second curse, Penance, lasts 15 seconds and also does not stack on itself. This curse deals 20 spellfire damage to the afflicted enemy when the enemy hits another target. This one's interesting to me because it's basically like a Thorns type skill or retaliation damage type skill, where if the enemies hit you, they take a certain amount of damage. But if they don't hit you, then the curse really doesn't do anything. I would assume that this pairs well with other curses and other skills in order to boost your own survivability and damage output, but I really just think I need to get my hands on the character to see how this one plays. Decrepify is a curse that deals 200 physical damage over 10 seconds, with added damage applying at 100% effectiveness per second. This curse also causes the target to take more damage from your damage over time spells based on your missing health. So not only does Decrepify seem to have the potential to scale extremely well with the ability to stack and the added damage applying at 100% of its effectiveness, but the curse will also increase all of your other damage over time on the target by an amount based on your missing health. I can see this pairing really well with low life builds. But it will be in steep competition with the next curse, Acid Skin. Acid Skin is a curse that deals 80 poison damage over 5 seconds, with added damage applying at 80% effectiveness. This poison damage is fine, I'm sure, but the real kicker is that this curse increases the chance that the enemy will be dealt a critical hit by 20%. A 20% increased critical hit chance, and nowhere on Icy Veins does it say that this curse can't stack. So stack this baby 5 times and you're at 100% crit chance. Are we looking at a curse that can give you and whoever else is in your party a guaranteed critical strike chance on an enemy? Holy hell, the endless possibilities of crit builds. I think this one might be too OP to be true, but we'll see how it plays out on launch. It'll be hard to follow the infinite critical hit glitch of Acid Skin, but the final curse the Warlock will be able to utilize is Torment. Torment deals 120 spell necrotic damage over 3 seconds, with added damage applying at 200% effectiveness per second, and also reduces the target's movement speed. This is just a solid, powerful curse that does a high amount of necrotic damage over a short period of time. It also seems to scale very well with 200% added effectiveness per second, but in order to rein it in and not make it too powerful, Torment cannot stack on itself. These curses seem like they will absolutely be incredibly powerful, and your ability to use them together or specialize in one will be based on how good you are at playing the Warlock effectively. Or not, just spam enemies with 5 curses and see what happens. Seems like great gameplay to me. So now that we know the main class mechanic, let's get into the new skills. Like I said, ActionRPG provided the gameplay footage I'll be using, so please give him some love for taking the time to partner with EHG and bring all of this to the community. I'll put a link to his channel in the description. I'm not going to go through all the skill trees in depth because that would make this video extremely long, so if it interests you, please go take a look at his video. He goes through each node individually and gives you some examples of how they look in the gameplay. I'll instead just summarize them. First up is Soul Feast, a spell that devours the souls of cursed enemies, dealing necrotic damage and pulling fragments of their souls back to you, with each soul granting you ward. The more perceptive of you beautiful viewers may notice that Soul Feast is actually a skill already available under the Lich Mastery. I assure you, while it may share the same name and have a similar concept, it has been reworked with a new skill tree that also carries over some nodes from the old tree. For example, the Grand Imprint node allows Soul Feast to be used on non-cursed enemies in exchange for range, because using this node will cause Soul Feast to be cast in a cone in front of you. The other node I like is the Infernal Hunger node, which grants you stacks of Infernal Hunger for every 2 seconds that you don't cast Soul Feast directly. When you do cast Soul Feast directly, all stacks of Infernal Hunger are consumed to cast Soul Feast an additional time per stack. I can't wait to see what sort of burst damage you can do with this node. The next spell is Chaos Bolts. Chaos Bolts is a barrage of chaotic projectiles that explode with both necrotic and fire damage. This seems to be the Warlock's basic spell. It has a low mana cost and can spread curses quickly and efficiently. It also has the ability to spread Ignite and Damned if you spec into it, and has a node called Exult in Misery that increases the damage you deal to ailment-affected enemies. You may have noticed that this node also has Bleeding and Frostbite, commonly associated with physical damage and frost damage respectively. Well, that's because there are nodes on the tree that change your fire damage to frost and the necrotic damage to physical. That means you have the ability to mix any combination of fire, necrotic, physical, and frost damage, with each of them changing the color of your Chaos Bolts, which I think is an awesome added touch. Next up is Ghost Flame, a channeling skill that sprays out a continuous jet of mesmerizing green and red flames, dealing fire and necrotic damage. I think the TLDR of this spell is that it's an extremely powerful channel spell that looks absolutely amazing. This is my second favorite looking spell, especially when speccing into the Decrepit Mortals node. Taking this node causes you to release a blast every 1.5 seconds, causing enemies around you to be cursed with Decrepify, one of the 5 new curses for the Warlock, the one that deals physical damage over time. Yes, this will probably do an awesome amount of damage, but more importantly, this explosion looks cool. The fourth Warlock spell to cover is Profane Veil, which is my favorite looking spell by far. It's a channeled movement spell where you become a soul-sucking sphere, draining nearby enemies of their life while being impervious to hit damage. You can still take damage over time though, so keep that in mind. I love this. The sphere looks beautiful, like a perfect ball of metallic liquid goop. Out of all the movement spells in the game, I feel like this one is one of the more fun ones to use. As far as utility goes, like other movement skills, the nodes on the skill tree provide a ton of CC and protections. It is a short duration and you move fairly slow, but it is an incredibly versatile skill. It's one of those skills that give you so many options to change the spell that you can mold it to exactly what you want. Last but not least, we have Chthonic Fissure, another beautifully animated spell that opens up a fissure in the ground, causing damage to those on top of it, and releasing spirits that will fly around and seek nearby enemies. Most importantly, the spirits will afflict damaged enemies with the Torment Curse, which causes necrotic damage over time and slows enemies. So 3 different sources of damage here: the fissure itself, the spirits seeking and hitting enemies, and then the Torment Curse as damage over time. This looks like the Warlock's big smash button high mana cost spell. The fissure deals heavy damage on its own, but the spirits seem to be a huge source of added damage as well. The fact that the spirits inflict torment, and you can spec into nodes to increase torment damage, I feel like if you build your Warlock the right way, your torment damage is going to be insane. And that's not all. You can use this spell with Infernal Shade, and when the spirits crash into an enemy affected by Infernal Shade, the Infernal Shade damage over time is dealt immediately, and any existing fissures release more spirits. Then if you take Chaotic Rupture, you can change some of these spirits to Chaos Bolts, and now you have one button that bursts single target enemies down with Spirits, Torment, and Infernal Shades, and brings entire packs down with AoE damage Chaos Bolts. And that's the Warlock, the basic summary anyway. It seems like the Warlock is going to be a mastery heavily reliant on its ability to set up and trigger skills within a short time frame. The great part of the skill design is that it seems like all 5 of these Warlock skills have the ability to set up and trigger themselves. So while it may not be an immediate blast of high power bursts like the Mage, the payoff of getting the most out of your curses and dealing heavy damage over time will be so sweetly satisfying you may forget that the Old Man Mage even exists. Once again, I want to thank Icy Veins and ActionRPG for all of this information. It was a blast to read through this and watch some of ActionRPG's deep dives. I'm extremely excited to see the Falconer information soon. Just a reminder that the last Epoch 1.0 release that includes the Warlock Mastery will be dropping on February 21st. And if you're interested in some cosmetic rewards, last Epoch just announced that they made a Deluxe and Ultimate Edition available for purchase that, if I'm being honest, look like they have cooler cosmetics than what's in the store now, so just take a look if you're interested. Anyway, that's it for me. Let me know what you think about the Warlock and all its curses and skills. I'm curious to see what the community thinks about the direction the Warlock took, both in the mechanics and skills and in the class fantasy. Either way, I hope you all are as excited to try it out as I am. But most importantly, I hope you enjoyed the video. Leave a like if you liked it and subscribe for more ARPG content. I hope you are hyped up for the 1.0 launch, and I can't wait to see what we talk about next.